I had 20 bucks in my pocket.
It was 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
I have 20 bucks in my pocket. I said, hey, Marty, give me 50 bucks. Well, 6 hours later, I had over $1,000 of cash in my pocket.
Which you stole.
I don't know how much tequila I consumed, but I do know that when I left to go home, I was passing cars on the shoulder on 294 to get home to take my in-laws to the airport, which they've never asked me to take them to the airport ever again. I got them there on time.
You're welcome.
I got them there on time. And you fell asleep in the.
Thank you.
Your wife was calling because you were supposed to pick up the kids that day.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of Brothers, Battles, and Bounty, where family, business, and your future success converge. I am your host, Andreas.
I'm Martin.
I'm Stefan.
And we have a special guest today, which I'm going to introduce to you with no further ado. On today's episode, we're diving into the heart of American manufacturing and steel distribution with a guest who brings more than 30 years of leadership, vision, and industry expertise on the table. Please welcome Dave Sherman, General Manager of Sales at Lexington Steel Corporation.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me here.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome, Dave. Welcome.
Fun stuff.
Founded in 1968, Lexington Steel is a national full-line distributor of flat-rolled steel products, headquartered in Oak Brook, Illinois, with a major operations based in Gary, Indiana, serving industries ranging from automotive and construction to appliances. Lexington Steel is known for its commitment to quality, reliability, and value-added services like slitting, cut-to-length processing, and warehousing. At the helm of the company's commercial operations is Dave Sherman. He heads both inside and outside sales teams, manages customer service operations, and oversees the entire supply chain, ensuring that Lexington Steel not only meets customer expectations, but continually rises the bar for excellence. Dave is a proud graduate of the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, where he earned his Bachelor of Science in Organizational Behavior Studies. Today, we'll get Dave's perspective on how to lead sales in a fast-evolving market, how to build enduring customer partnerships, and what it's like to grow a career within a legacy company rooted in American industry. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Dave Sherman.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
You sound pretty good.
I can't believe all that.
Well, Dave, we have a long history together, Lexington, Trendler, and it's been, it's fascinating for me. The memories are certainly the continuity of the source of supply in the steel and all the evolution we've gone through over the last 35 plus years. But when I think of Lexington, it brings about just pleasant memories, relationships, and all these fascinating dynamics of, it's not about, it's great memories.
We've worked through very good times, and we've worked through
some challenging.
Challenging times. And, I know in a previous podcast, I mentioned, you really don't know how good a supplier is until you run into some issues.
Right.
And that's when you really find out, where people stand.
Yep.
And you guys have always been there for us and figured out the best way to make a shitty situation really good when it does happen. And, I just can't believe that it's been 35
years.
We've been doing business with Lexington for
35 plus. Yep. This is my 33rd year with Lexington. Yeah, like you said, graduated from U of I on a Sunday, and started with Lexington the next day, and I've been with Lexington ever since.
Yeah. So the next day.
Yeah, my dad had to drive me. I was broke.
Did you interview with them?
I did. I had in 91, I had a internship that summer. And things went well, and they hired me of April of 92, and I started May 18 of 92. And it's funny, I've known I wanted to be in sales, especially commercial sales with products, ever since I was, let's say, 16, 17 years old. And the reason is, one summer back in '86, my father took me into his company and he said, okay, here's some odd jobs for you, assembly. He was in electronics engineering, et cetera. And, I was putting, A to A, B to B, putting stuff together. And I was listening in the background and they were trying to launch this new product. And I was watching marketing and engineering and sales and accounting all working together on this brand new project. And I just love to see the collaboration. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to work with the team. I want to be in the middle of everything. I want to be involved in good business decisions, strategies, learn from mistakes, et cetera. And from that day in '86, I said I wanted to be in business and in sales especially. So then I applied to U of I and I got in the next year.
Love it.
So was Lexington at the time, and I don't know if they still are, but I think they are. They were a family business, right? When you
That's right. It was the Maroche family created the company in '68, and then the Douglas family bought Lexington Steel in 1990. And Bob Douglas, and then Bill Douglas joined in '91, and I joined in 1992. Exactly, the family business, the collaboration, working together. It was just, immediately I knew I had a home.
Well, you mentioned the sales and the customer service end. You're interesting the background and your desire because you're a natural at it. And what I mean by natural is you have a passion for taking care of the customer. I mean, you get upset when things aren't working. You could tell you really care.
Right.
And that comes through in the way you communicate and how we conduct our business. For you, that's part of the secret sauce, the magic of Lexington and Trendler. And you have been behind the scenes. You've had some front men that have been pretty charismatic and colorful, to say the least. But you've been the foundation behind that, allowing the what matters, the inventory programs that we had, and we've had some really robust challenges.
You've been our account representative
Since '93.
since '93.
Yeah, so explain what that was like, if you can recall being introduced to Trendler for the first time. What was that like? Well, right?
A young Andy. No, but seriously, Andy as well, you had a passion too. So we kind of started working together. I was just brand new to the industry. And, we realized that supply is integral, consistent supply. So that's what we've really focused on part numbers and two-way communication, your demand, our supply, where's our supply in each stage of the process. And it just took off from there. Yeah. And I appreciate what you say about the sales, but I'm the communicator. Anyone in sales, we are the communicant. We represent ourselves, yes, but as salespeople, we represent the team. So what salespeople, especially in steel, we are selling a product created from ownership, dedication by ownership to our purchasing group, our sales, production, logistics, finance, right down to the gentleman that's putting the banding on the steel. Every one of us is presenting a product from Lexington Steel. So yes, I'd be the salesman, but really it's what is Lexington Steel providing our customers on a daily basis for every single coil or a sheet that goes out our door.
Right.
There's not a lot of competition in that, is there?
No, just a few. And a good point. That's the way you have to differentiate yourself is, yes, there's pricing and there's quality, but it's also communication. What we pride ourselves in is Lexington Steel wants to be an extension of the purchasing department. We want to share your energies, your reports, your goals. We want to help you with that. We want to be an extension, not just, we want to be working together. And when you find companies like Trendler Inc. that embrace the same energies and enthusiasm that we do, then 35 years goes like that.
Yeah.
Is it unique for you to have a company that you've been doing business for 35 years with, or you have many?
We've got I'd say about 10 or so.
Oh, okay.
About 10 that have been with us since, really the late 80s, early 90s. And to your point, that's interesting. They all have, these companies all have similar passions, similar energy, similar, it's kind of like putting the guard down. And how do we work together? It's not sales and purchasing. It's a team.
Yeah.
It's our customers' team and our team. How do we work together to get the product to you on time so that enables you as the same? The other credo that we like to work with, that we developed with you, is every transaction is a business transaction. There's a cost. And when things change, when you want to go thinner gauge or you want to go a little bit more DQ for a bend, that's
Drawing
a cost.
quality for those who don't know.
Exactly, drawing versus commercial quality. There's cost in everything we do. Deliveries, banding, packaging, etc. So what we try and do is look at the transaction and how do we together remove cost every day, not just pass from one party to the other. That's silly. How do we work together every day to try and make the ship the product on time, of course, but also is there a way to save money for Trendler at no cost to Lexington?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do every day. We come in.
Like what we focus on is we try to do as much self-integration as possible. Things that we're doing on the outside, if feasible,
right,
we bring it in. Is that something that Lexington has been looking at? Like, for example, I don't know if you guys still have someone do the slitting. Just are you guys looking at integrating any other? How do you differentiate yourself from?
The way we differentiate ourselves really is delivery, quality, and communication, especially communication. Steel mills, God bless them, they're not always on time. And so it's a matter then of how do you communicate that, when do you, and then not only do you say the steel is going to be coming, this date, not that, but kind of explain why and explain that, we were working diligently on, getting the steel that you need so that you can set your schedule.
So the challenge of getting steel for our specific purpose, since we know what chemistry we need for the swivels, all of that, it's very specific. It was very difficult to source a good supplier that can provide the continuity. Lexington fit the bill, and there was a number of others too, but the service levels and the approach kind of wooed us to go that way. But the real magic was in that slab conversion program. And that was through Bob's connections
right,
and who he knew.
Right.
And we were able to get we couldn't buy direct from the mill because our volume wasn't big enough. We could, but it would be, one order for 1 year. So we were able to get mill sourced steel at warehouse distribution.
Right.
And that works so well because we're all working together. We gave you a year forecast, 2-year forecast, and said, hey, we'll commit to this amount. And that partnership really melded. And over the years, it just continuously improved, become more and more efficient.
One of the other big things that, because you and I have been working together for many years, is one of the things I've seen. There's many, but one of the big things is that dealing with other steel companies, there was so much turnover.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be talking to a salesperson, and then within a couple of weeks, it was someone else. And then within a couple of weeks, it was someone else. And the beauty with Lexington has been the longevity of some of your key employees, including yourself.
And the only thing that turned over at Lexington was the alcohol we were drinking. We started with beers and then the whiskey and then the tequilas.
We've got a couple of good ones left.
That'll be another.
I have a question because you've been doing what you're doing now for 35 years. And our audience are entrepreneurs and family businesses and people who are trying to, learn from different experiences. How did the business change from your perspective? Because it's not right or wrong. How did you see the evolution from 1993 to the present? How would you explain that?
There were two keys, and it's I'd say more supply driven than demand. Back in the early 90s, let's say in the Chicagoland region, you had access to 8 or 10 separate steel mills. They were all independent at the time. Old names, Inland, LTV, et cetera. Then they converged in 2001 or so. into ISG, a lot of the Cliffs steel mills. So as a result, you lost the number of suppliers. So less competition equals higher pricing.
Mhm.
The other phenomenon that happened in the steel industry is, I would say, in the early 2000s, 2002 to 2004, especially 2004, China was preparing for the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And as a result, they pretty much bought the entire world steel, if you will.
Wow.
So hot roll back then was, let's just say, 25 cents, a pound or so. It doubled within a couple months in 2004. So that then became our industry. I'd say in the early 90s, in my opinion, we were a little bit more domestic. We were a little bit more USA concentric.
Mm-hmm.
When China got involved in 2004, heavily involved, all of a sudden our steel became a commodity, an international commodity, which yet again brings foreign supply. So I would say the biggest changes in steel itself would be the consolidation of steel mills, as well as the expansion of our industry being international, not just domestic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How many has it consolidated again recently, or is there still the same amount of mills?
There's roughly 4 major mills.
And it's been like that for how long?
It's been that way, I'd say, for about 10 years or so.
Okay.
And along those lines, so that's where we were, where we are,
Mhm.
kind of, sort of. What do you see coming in the next 3-5? I know it's hard to say, but you've been around long enough. What is the talk of what's coming with the steel industry?
There's supposed to be more capacity coming on, especially with the recent agreement with Nippon and U.S. Steel, the $14 billion investment,
Mhm.
which means part of the deal is another steel mill being created. So what that means is then USA in a couple of years could be completely independent or not needing any foreign sourcing. Because the rule of thumb years past were, a long time ago, was U.S. could only supply about 70 to 75% of our total steel in the country. We'd actually be reliant on foreign supply. But in the next couple of years, as these mills are built and start churning out product, we could be, just solely USA only supply.
Ah,
Is that a good thing?
I think it is. Because you have more control. You can, as a team, then you can reduce your inventories, because instead of having to buy based on a 6-month forecast for steel, that your total inventory, because that's another thing, is you got to look at your inventory, not just what you have in house, but what you have inbound.
Yep.
And you match it up to mill lead time. So as a result, if you're dependent on foreign steel, that expands your exposure.
You're
Then-
in transit inventory.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And with that comes finance, et cetera. So if it's domestic, you've already cut your lead time in half. So as a result, you're cutting your financial obligations possibly by 50%.
But one of the problems of that for procurement of steel is we don't benefit from the price dumping of China, so we can't get better pricing because China's dumping it in here. No,
so the summary of what I just heard you say over that 30-year period of time, 90s, we were pretty much self-reliant on American steel. We had enough to consume domestic.
Basically.
Then fast forward to early 2000s, we were only supplying 70%, and we had to get 30% from outside.
Roughly.
Prox,
Roughly. I mean, it's a matter of opinion, yes.
Fast forward now to the present, we're almost, what I heard is we're getting back to now where we were kind of in the 90s with domestic steel production.
in the future.
We will in the future.
In a couple of years.
That's the
4 to 6 years.
intention.
Right. That's a current goal.
Okay,
Right.
so that's what I heard.
Yep.
Okay, that was accurate. That I'm
Yep.
interpreting it correctly.
Yep.
Fascinating.
That was a joke.
Because one of the
You got to do better.
Yeah, right.
Just rattled easily.
Well,
Take it easy. You know?
It's like your delivery sucked. Yeah.
But one of the biggest things our customers are always asking is, what's happening with steel? Where is steel going? Because in the last, year, 2 years, it's been all over the place. It's been, as low as, the CRU number, as
Right.
low as,
What's CRU?
third.
It's an independent index
Okay.
of just showing the change of
Yeah.
What does
market
it
pricing
stand
and
for? I always I don't even know.
So the point is, it's a
Yeah, yeah.
steel market index showing what the
That everybody
market
looks at.
price
Yes.
for steel is doing. Got it.
So that's gone anywhere from, 30 cents per hundredweight to, 80 or 90
Yep.
cents per hundredweight.
Yep.
Per hundredweight.
That's almost a 300% over what period of time?
That was
18
in,
months or
that was in
24
2021.
So 24
2021.
months.
I
Yep.
remember that. now.
So
And you guys probably made a killing during that time.
So the thing
we gave it all back.
is
Good answer.
what seems to be happening is when there's a swing in price, it used to be, 5-10%.
Right.
Now it's 20-30% swings.
So
Up
the
or down.
volatility of the market is
What,
massive.
is the industry addressing that? I mean, we understand costs go up, costs go down, but the extreme level of these changes really gets the market, our industry kind of.
Well, what it exposes is the fact that for steel, we're not the creator of the steel. Whether it's from an electric arc, the recycled steel or the poured integrated, we don't control that. We don't control the pricing. The mills,
Right.
for the most part, do that. So if you really can't control pricing because it's the nature of the market, then you've got to pivot us to you to your customers and say, what do we control? We control the amount of inventory that's on your floor. We control the amount of inventories on our floor. We control what we have inbound. We have control over logistics, freights, packaging, and then perhaps let's have a part number review and say, okay, is there a way to make the part a little bit thinner, maybe boosting the high strength steel so the integrity of the part is whole, but you will have more parts to invoice.
Get better yield.
Exactly, with still being 100% to the quality your customer expects, and that's just an idea that every company. How do we together remove cost of what we can control?
Yeah. And so like the innovative approach to that Lexington has always done is in focusing on the yields, focusing on
Inventory.
how we can do that, the technology of the actual chemistry of the steel, like you indicated.
Yep.
We just said what we said, and it makes sense, perfect sense to us. But with steel, you buy it in a coil, a roll, and and you buy it by the pound. So if the steel, it comes in a range of what's 12 gauge,
Well, your 12 gauge is 091 to 098.
So
of an inch.
0.081 to 098 decimal. If it comes in on the lower range, we're able to get more parts out per process. If it comes on the heavier gauge, we're getting less, but we're still paying the same amount.
Right.
So I just wanted to, for the audience, kind of
that's
explain to
That's
them.
right.
And so these innovations of being able to now engineer that on behalf of what we did is humongous. That's huge.
And you take swivels, which is a big part of our business. What percent of the swivel is actual steel, Marty?
It's probably close to 75-80% of the cost is steel.
Just the raw material.
Because the swivel plates are automated. The press runs automatically. The assembly is automated.
Yeah,
so
significant.
And the actual the composition of a swivel is 98.
Right, because you got the rivet.
Steel.
Right.
The rivet is made of steel. The
Steel
ball
balls.
bearings are made of steel. The
It's all
plates
ball
are made of
bearings.
steel.
Yeah.
The washers are made of steel. The only thing that's not steel is the plastic retaining ring and the grease.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why, Trendler with Lexington, we've done part number review. I'd say next month we're going to do another one where let's walk a coil from its receiving through the process, through your finished goods, and just, come up with ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not sustainable, but you've got to be thinking about, okay, again, what do I control and what can we work together to lower cost?
A lot of companies just look at the transactional cost, which is important.
Yes.
But doing business for so many years, it's not just the transaction cost. I take a look at, especially the relationship we have with Lexington is the program we have with you guys runs on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever have to freaking worry about, is it going to come? Is it not? Is the quality going to be good?
Right.
Sometimes, but very rarely.
Thank you.
But it's, I don't have to worry. I don't have to spend any time on it. Our purchasing department doesn't have to spend much time on it. They can spend their time on other things.
Right.
And the great thing is steel is our number one commodity we consume. So it's very efficient. The transactions that we do, the pricing is competitive.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
But man, I wish a majority of our suppliers would handle our account like you guys do,
And
it's
and Stefan, to your point,
and I don't say that very easily.
No, you don't.
I know I like busting your chops. We just signed the contract, so I don't have to.
He throws nickels around like they're manhole covers, right?
You get a nickel. You get a nickel.
But no, it's just been. It's been good. That's why we've been doing business for 35 years.
Well, that's what you asked me a little bit earlier, is how does Lexington Steel differentiate itself from the 50 or more warehouses in the Chicagoland area? It is absolutely sitting down with your buyer and his or her team and explain that the cost of steel is not just the invoice. It's not the invoice. It's what's behind. It's the service, the quality, the productive yield, the reliability. That's what is beneath that invoice. And that's what you got to really look in. So then what you are trying to compete is, regardless of invoice price, because the market's pretty much the same, is what is the total value that we provide to Trendler Components beyond the price.
Yeah. Well, and over the years, the relationship and the fun and the things that we've done together, the memories that we have.
So based,
flipping golf carts.
Yeah, so based on that, the memories, and we were, with the interest of time, we want to kind of start wrapping up. But what I'd like to kind of bring it together with is just a few words that would describe the nature of the relationship, and not like one word, but like a few. For me, I'll start to kind of lead. I would say basically professionalism, relationships, and fun. I mean, that's kind of,
for me, it's the family aspect of Lexington's business, being family. Bob Douglas, just treated me like a close friend. He
shout out to Bob.
Shout out to Bob Douglas.
Shout out to Timmy too.
I'm sure he was waiting for it.
He's like, you took all the way to the end of the podcast.
so I'll. But sorry.
And just I really appreciate the family aspect of it. I can and just the fun we've had. Not only do we take care of business, but we also have fun, and it's great.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's also it's teamwork, transparency, and trust.
So
TTT.
Yeah. So for me, the word that comes to mind is euphoria, and I would say that would be based on the golf outing that Tim and Marty,
some of us were euphoric,
were on, and we got rained out.
Yep.
Okay, and so we ended up starting to play cards and drink tequila
at the clubhouse,
at the old clubhouse,
right,
at Crystal Tree, and we started drinking at 9:30 in the morning. I had $20 in my pocket.
It was 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
I had $20 in my pocket. I said, "Hey, Marty, give me $50." Well, 6 hours later, I had over $1,000 of cash in my pocket,
which you stole.
I don't know how much tequila I consumed, but I do know that when I left to go home, I was passing cars on the shoulder on 294 to get home to take my in-laws to the airport, which they've never asked me to take them to the airport ever again. I got them there on time.
You're welcome.
I got them there on time. And you fell asleep in the your wife was calling because you were supposed to pick up the kids that day?
Yes.
So what was the story? Just real quickly.
Okay, very quickly. It was Laura, I'll be home. I'll be home around 3 o'clock. So we scheduled haircuts for our 5 and 3-year-old. And it got to, let's say, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and she was calling, and I was not able to answer.
You were sleeping.
Okay, thank you. I was sleeping, so I woke up around 7 o'clock, and of all the days, that was a board meeting at the clubhouse. So I come out of the locker room, just ooh, and I see 5 messages. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I come out and I get a standing ovation from the board, and just like, hey, you made it, you're alive. And I'm like, well, yeah. Hey, does anyone want to take these calls? They're like, no. It was very, very quiet, for the rest of that day. So shout out to Laura. Laura, I love you. Thank you.
Well, awesome. We'd love to have you back again.
That'd be fantastic. Thank
we've
you.
got a lot of other stories to certainly share, and some insights on business relationships and sourcing and whatnot. But anybody out there that consumes steel, please contact Lexington Steel. They're amazing.
Yeah.
We just testified to that. No holes barred are a phenomenal source of supply. So with that said, that concludes another episode of Brothers, Battles, and Bounty, where your future, family, and success converge. So please follow us on all the
Facebook,
Spotify, YouTube,
Instagram,
and where'd you see us on?
LinkedIn.
That's right.
Yes.
Yep.
Fantastic. So with
Dave,
that,
you're
thanks
awesome,
again,
man.
Dave.
Thanks
we
for
appreciate
coming
it.
Thank you for
Thanks
everything,
for all you
guys.
do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Take care.
Till next time.